Welcome back. We're ready to work on the Vormator exercise. For this exercise, you're going to need to download the Vormator tutorial, Vormator shapes, and the rulebook. So I've got them up here. We can look them over real quick. These are the Vormator shapes. When you download this, you can see it's already an Illustrator document. So you'll be able to open this in Illustrator, and all of these shapes will be able to be moved around, duplicated, turned, resized, and so forth. They're all ready to go. There are a few important rules that you need to remember while doing the project. You can rotate, flip, and duplicate the shapes. You can resize them, but only in proportional ways. I'll go over an example of that in a moment. Use any colors you want, use gradients. If you're more advanced with Illustrator and you know the Pathfinder tool or the Shape Builder tools, you are allowed to use them to add, subtract, or intersect the shapes. Don't worry if you don't know about these yet. You're going to learn about them later in this semester. If you do know them though, you are allowed to use them. What you're not allowed to do is use strokes of any kind. Again, you can only use these filled shapes. So you're not allowed to add a stroke to the outside. You're not allowed to draw any kind of strokes. You can only use these filled shapes. No use of filters, effects, warp, or skew. Again, if you don't know what those are, don't worry, you're going to learn them later. If you do know what they are, just know you're not allowed to use them in this exercise. So let's look at the rules here, the instructions. You can see a few things that people made with the Vormator shapes. Some are abstract art, some are vector stories. You can make anything you want. The thing is to follow the rules. Use only the 8 vector shapes. And here you can see the rules repeated. It's important to know that you need a minimum of 500 shapes to create your piece. So you can see here, when they were building this guy, they kept track of how many times they used each shape. You want to do that throughout the exercise so that you know you reach a minimum of 500 shapes. When you get down here, you can see specifically that the Illustrator document needs to be 800 points by 800 points. So if you start a new file, you're going to want to change this to points, 800 by 800. And create. And there's our artboard. Now let's go over that rule about not changing the proportions of a shape. So I'm going to start with an oval here. Let's pretend that this is one of the Vormator shapes. What I'm not allowed to do is change the shape proportions. So I can't drag up, down, sideways, and so forth, unless I'm holding the Shift key down. By holding the Shift key, I can drag from any of these points to make it larger or smaller, and it's going to keep the proportions the same. Holding down the Shift key still, I can drag it from any point. So if you're making something larger or smaller, make sure that you use the Shift key, because as soon as you let it go, you're going to ruin the proportions, and that is not allowed. You are allowed to come up here. You can rotate it if you like to, resize it, and so forth. Just no changing the proportions. So let's look at an example here. This is from when I took the class. Again, it's a really good idea to keep all of your classes in order in separate folders. You can see I'm on college. Spring 2021 is when I took digital illustration, and I can click on the Vormator project and easily find it. So I was brand new to Illustrator when I made this, but I was able to do it all with the Vormator shapes. You can see the birds here. They look a little wonky. Why is that? Because you can only use Vormator shapes. So here we've got the wings. How did I make that head? It's the teardrop. I turned the teardrop upside down to make the head portion. Where's the bottom of the bird coming from? Right here. I made it smaller, and there it is. And that's how I built a bird. You can see the treetops using different colors to add depth. Treetops are right here. How did I make this long tree trunk without stretching and warping that shape? I used this shape right here. The first one would be right here, stacked another one on top of it, and so on. And I counted how many times I used it to build this long tree trunk. So I know I'm reaching up to my 500. What are all these pebbles on the bottom here? Let's take a look. Those are the guitar pick shape, using different colors, layering them over each other to make pebbles on the ground. Here's the path she's walking on. Same shape as the bird's wings. How did I make her cape? Well, you can see here I flipped the guitar pick for the bottom of the cape, and I flipped the teardrop for the top of the cape. Put them together and they made the cape shape. How about the clouds? These are all teardrops with the pointy ends reaching into the center. You can see I put it all together. I used a gradient to make the bottom of the cloud a little bit darker. Same thing with this guy. He's all Vormator shapes. Here's the teardrop. His eye is at 2 teardrops with the points pointing out on the sides, and the round centers meeting in the middle here. Used a gradient on him, and so on. So again, this project is totally up to you. If you're new, you can do something simple. If you're more advanced and you want to get more artistic, you're welcome to do that. All you have to do is make sure that you follow the rules. Have lots of fun. I can't wait to see what you create.